Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you can tell, we have a gorgeous day here today in Szczecin, and this cat behind me is Cat the Sailor. And I showed you this area before, but since it's so beautiful today, decided to come back. This is another pretty neat thing. I haven't showed you this, with the symbol of Szczecin right in that upper corner there. So guys, today I will have two topics for you. The first one is about depopulation of Ukraine. It's a very detailed, interesting article I came across, quite lengthy, but I will be reading this to you. I hope this video brings you some value. If you appreciate this content, please subscribe, and at the end or during the video, if you value it, please hit that like. It helps the channel a lot. And of course, leave the comments. I appreciate you all very, very much. The second topic is about the exercises that NATO will be having very soon. The one that I actually mentioned about quoting Maria Zakharova's speech several days ago. And in that article, what really grabbed my attention is that as they are planning, Poland will be the country probably sacrifice the first in this conflict, because there is such a plan. Will this happen? Will this Third World War, which I think to some extent we are already in, but officially, will this take place globally to create another reset for, you know who, Wall Street and co? I don't know. I hope not. But I'm having more and more feelings that unfortunately there is a very high chance this will be the case, and Poland is going to be sacrificed, and all this military equipment, drafts going to the military commissions, calling people, medical certificates, etc., etc. There is reason for it. It's not just because, okay? We all know this. So let me take a sit somewhere here, and I'm gonna read you. The first article is quite lengthy, like I said, but I think we will appreciate some info from this. How they are depopulating Ukraine. Well, not just Ukraine, entire world, but this is specifically about Ukraine. After 2 years of war, Ukraine is threatened with a demographic catastrophe. At the beginning of the third year of the war, a demographic catastrophe looms over the country. 1 in 4 residents has left home as a result of the Russian invasion, right? That's what this article says, but let me continue, you know, my take on this. About 10 million people have been forced to flee abroad or to other regions of the country. UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Granelli said in an interview with Japan's NHK television, this is what he said, that about 10 million people have been forced to flee abroad or to other regions of the country. That's about a quarter of Ukraine's pre-war population. Of those refugees, 2/3 have gone abroad, and 1/3 are people who have fled from the vicinity of the front line or occupied territories to other regions of the country. Here is the quote: "We should make it clear that depopulation is underway in Ukraine. There will be no more 40 million of us," said, oh, actually more here, and even more so, it will not be 52 million as it was in January of 1992. Let's forget about it. This is coming from Ela Libanova, who is the head of the Institute of Demography of the Academy of Science of Ukraine, and she said it at the conference in Kiev. She added that to the people who fled the country as a result of the war, we should add several million economic migrants who went abroad before the outbreak of the war. And here, guys, I want to tell you something. I remember very well when I was coming to visit my father, much before the situation now in Ukraine, right? Before 2022. And I remember we already had here quite a big number of Ukrainian refugees. I want to say this, those people that I came across, so that group of people who went here, who moved here, I think it was after 2014, but I'm talking like about, 2017, 18, 19, those people that I came across, they really put effort and work to create a new, better life for themselves. They blend in this community here, they were working, learning Polish, very, very nice Ukrainian people I came across. And I have to tell you that it's unfortunate, and I know some of them were saying this, how this reputation, this opinion about Ukrainians in Poland has changed in the last 2 years. But those people, I know some of you probably are watching me, I admire this. It's not easy to move to another country and to start a new life and build the foundation for yourself. It's an achievement. It's a, it's an example. It shows how strong someone is, how resilient, how devoted, and how focused on the better life. So that group, she included in this here. Now let me continue with those numbers. Of the 6.3 million war refugees, 5.9 million went to Europe, most to Poland and Germany. To be honest, I think it's actually more than this, because in Poland alone, I believe we have more than 5 million, but it's just, I'm not counting those people. I just have a sense that there is more than that. Probably the rich agricultural south of the country was most affected by the depopulation, which became the direct base of war. According to UN data, 47% of refugees who have gone abroad are women. As many as 70% of them have higher education, and 33% of them are children. Let me just move there. Only 20% are men, but they are becoming the most acute, I think you say this word, acute problem in Ukraine's relations with European countries. There is an approximately 80,000 people in Europe who broke the laws of Ukraine and fled to the country, quoting this article, right? Like cowards, that's what it says here. And we should help Ukraine with these men, said Estonian MP, I don't know how you say his first name, Jale or Jack Madison. Recently he said it in the European Parliament about Ukrainians of military age who left the country. The call led to subsequent European countries announcing that they would not extradite male refugees to Ukraine, although Kiev did not officially demand this. Germany, Poland, Hungary and Austria have announced it publicly, while Romania does not even extradite illegal refugees from Ukraine across the border Tisza River. Estonia itself is hesitant, even though only 7,500 people live there. Ukrainians that live there are Ukrainians of military age. Interior Minister Lori Lanemets, I'm sorry guys, this is I think Estonian, right? Estonian last name. Lanemets said the country could allow Ukraine to mobilize them, but Prime Minister Kaja Kallas rejected such a possibility. So, let's go into this. How many refugees will return to Ukraine? The biggest problem in terms of numbers are the refugees themselves. The UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, claims that 80% of them would like to return to Ukraine, but only 14% is planning such a comeback in the near future. 80% wants to return and 14% is planning. Returns already took place last year because just after the outbreak of the war, by April 2022, 11.4 million people had fled from Ukraine abroad, and there were 7.1 million displaced people inside the country. Just a side note here from me. I think we are forgetting about the human trafficking there, right? No one counts those people. Do you count those people? Are those numbers including? No. However, last week there were reports that Kiev was pressuring European countries to push refugees back home. It is not Ukraine's official position that refugees should return, and that is why aid for them should be reduced, denied Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Olya Stefanishnya. Sorry guys, I don't speak Ukrainian. Next person here, Slovan Bratislava played against Dynamo Moscow and has a serious problem today. But exactly the opposite problem has emerged. Reducing foreign aid for internal immigrants in Ukraine. So how are you gonna kick them out of those countries? You stop the social support, right? We are directly bound by the decisions of our partners, and they keep making demands for consistent verification of payments. According to the international rules, 2 years is enough time for refugees to adapt, says another Deputy Prime Minister, Irina Vereshchuk. I think even less than 2 years is enough, but you know, it depends. The number of refugees is increasing. Already in January, the Ukrainian authorities evacuated over 40 villages in the hinterland of the northern section of the front. Currently, I do not see any major movement of people returning to their places of residence, said the High Commissioner Filippo Grandi. He added that although UNHCR helped rebuild or renovate 27,500 houses in Ukraine, but the destruction is progressing at the same time as the reconstruction. So 1 step forward, 2 steps backward. All of the 6 million Ukrainians, and taking into the account the economic immigrants who left before the war, 9 million will not, let me find the right page, will not return to Ukraine. After the wars in Balkans, only 1/3 of the refugees will return home. If half of the Ukrainians come back, it will be great, said Elia Libanova. Yes, so we have the population. This is just one example. There will be more and more people leaving Ukraine or being killed there. And then the next country, put on the list. Put in the comments, who do you think is next? In that region, I'm saying. But let's go to the second article, guys, and this is about NATO exercises. And the end of this article is just, you know, well, let me read you this. We have to defend ourselves and wait for the Americans. A repetition of 40 years ago, only Poland instead of Germany. So this title grabbed my attention because it's quite a title, isn't it? A repetition of 40 years ago, only Poland instead of Germany. So now let me just correct my pages here because I don't want to jinx this article at all because it's important. Okay, that's how it goes. NATO Steadfast Defender 2024 exercise, which is about to begin, is expected to be the largest since 1988, when the last Reforger, I think is the name, exercise was held. The idea of the present and the former is the same. War breaks out in Europe, the European members of NATO first must defend themselves and hold out until the arrival of American relief from overseas. They're literally, this is like a movie script, right? Except they are creating our realities, right? Yeah, so guys, in a nutshell here, before I jump deeper into this article with details, this is the largest since 1989, and the scenario is the same. War breaks out in Europe. Okay, so like, you know, defend yourself until American forces will come to your rescue, which means like you already done. I mean, even the names of the exercises are telling. Reforger is an abbreviation for return of forces to Germany. Reforger, right? Steadfast defender is a steadfast defender. So, in general, Europe should defend itself bravely when help is heading across the ocean. This is a real article, guys. I'm not joking. This is how they approach this topic. I mean, those names, right? But there's more names, so just bear with me here. We have to find some humor in this, because otherwise you're like, what the heck? What's the future, huh? One important difference is that during the Cold War, the reinforcements were mainly to go to the West Germany, which is now the Western Federal States of Germany. You know, RFN, right? Now, their role has been taken over primarily by Poland and the Baltic states. So that's why this article is, this time it will not be Germany, this time it will be Poland and other, like Scott Ritter says, Chihuahua countries. A total of about 90,000 soldiers from 31 NATO countries, as well as Sweden, which is still standing in the vestibule of the alliance, I don't know this word, apologies, are expected to take part in the Steadfast Defender 2024. By comparison, Reforger 88, so this Reforger, that's the largest one from 1988, was much larger. Yeah, that was larger, with 125,000 people taking part, not 90,000. Yeah, it's a difference, no? However, the scale of modern exercise is growing rapidly. It was only in 2018 that the Trident Juncture exercise with 50,000 people was a big deal. Okay, sorry, my hand. The increase in scale is easy to understand given what Russia is doing. Officially, exercise Steadfast Defender does not assume it as enemy, and everything is maintained in the traditional style of anonymous attacker. So when they say anonymous attacker, this means Russia. But in fact, there is no doubt as to what it is about and why after 3 decades NATO is returning to a Cold War patterns. NATO does not provide a detailed plan for the exercises. It began on January 24th with the departure of the landing ships USS Gunston Hall from the Norfolk base on the east coast of the USA. One sec. More units are to follow. Okay, the final of Steadfast Defender 2024 is scheduled to take place at the turn of May and June. In the meantime, the entire scenario of an attack by anonymous Russia, this is literally in the article, anonymous Russia. I mean, it's anonymous or it's Russia. Can we choose? It's like getting funny, no? Okay, from the beginning. In the meantime, the entire scenario of an attack by anonymous Russia and defense against it will be trained, including as part of a smaller national and local exercises that make up a NATO-wide whole. In addition to 90,000 soldiers, a total of 50 ships, 80 planes, helicopters and larger drones and 1,100 vehicles, including 133 tanks and 533 infantry fighting vehicles, are to take part in Steadfast Defender 2024. Those names, I'm telling you. Poland will provide a significant part of the forces taking part in the exercises. This will take places as part of the mentioned Dragon 24 maneuvers, another name. Yeah, Year of the Dragon, right? Dragon 24 maneuvers, which are scheduled to start at the turn of February and March. The Polish army is to send 15,000 soldiers to them. Additional 5,000 will come from allied countries. The first phase of the exercise assumes actions in the realities of a crisis situation, and the second phase during a defensive war operation. So first we have crisis, and then we have defensive war. Are we in crisis or are we in war? According to the Ministry of National Defense, by the key element of the exercises will be the crossing of troops across the Vistula River and the movement of the NATO Rapid Reaction Forces. The later ones are to arrive in Poland partially, but not exclusively, by parachute as part of the related exercise, another name, get ready, Brilliant Jump 24. Most of the events in all these exercises will take place in Estonia, Finland, Greece, Lithuania, Latvia, Germany, Norway, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Sweden, Hungary and the UK. Hello to everyone who's watching me from all the lucky countries that will be part of this exercise. Additionally, naval exercises, another name, are you ready? Dynamic Manta or Manta, it's in Mediterranean Sea, and Dynamic Mongoose, North Sea, will also be related to Steadfast Defender 2024. If I completely mispronounce those names, please, I'm so sorry, I have no idea. Their main purpose will be to train anti-submarine warfare and to protect maritime transport. Okay, here is the key points. It takes about 40 days to transport, for example, an entire US Army mechanized brigade from United States to Europe. 40 days, and put it into combat. So to transfer it and put it into combat, 40 days. By using weapons depots in Europe and delivering people to them by air, this can be shortened to 9 or 10 days. However, there are not many such warehouses, and thus only a few brigades and support units can be dispatched at a short notice. So logistics, yep. These are the results and conditions without the so-called enemy countermeasure. For example, assuming that the Russians will not interfere. Oops, that might change this plan. The anonymous attacker might interfere. In practice, this means that most of the heaviest forces of the United States military have to wait at the front for over a month from the moment the order to go is given. However, assuming earlier detection of Russian preparations for the invasion, such an order might be given before the outbreak of the war. Okay, preventing measures. So it shouldn't be that the Americans will move only after the first shots are fired. Yes? I hope you're following this because it's quite interesting. It's like reading a movie script. Then the reinforcement should already be in place or in its way for a long time. However, everything here depends on political will. And I think this will be the last very interesting part of this article. So thank you so much for still watching. Regardless of this, after the transition from the crisis phase to the war phase, the hardest task will most likely initially rest on the soldiers of the land forces of European NATO countries. So European countries are doomed first, then there's nothing left, then comes US, and then they sign the deal peace negotiation with the anonymous attacker. That's how I'm reading this. I might be so wrong. They will have to be persistent defender with the support of air and navy, waiting for the cavalry arrivals from overseas. Now, these are the last sentences of this article, guys, and this is just beyond how they think we are stupid. In Western thriller books describing the war between NATO and USSR, this role was most often played by the Federal Republic of Germany's Bundeswehr, as the largest land force of the European member of the alliance. This time, this country might be Poland. Yep, the links to the articles you find down below this video, those two articles. I hope you're not completely bored with me reading this. Let me pick up my pages. So, yeah, that's how the situation looks like. I don't think it's gonna, I mean, they are planning this, okay? They are planning this. How this will unfold, only God knows. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, leaving the comments. All the links to find me, locals, Instagram, mailing list, Rumble, as well as Buy Me a Coffee link are down below this video. I leave you with Cat the Sailor. Have a wonderful day. Lots of love. And remember, we are the leading edge and we are saving humanity. Bye everyone.